No, in 1969, to call a company advanced technology probably was trailblazing. It was something very, very unique. But since then, our next speaker, Dr. Yossi Vardi, actually did advanced technology, at least here in Israel. We refer to him as the Israeli Internet's guru. He helped initiate over 80 companies that has to do with technology, and not in the least bit had to do with education in technology. So I would like to invite to the stage Dr. Yossi Vardi. He is now the co-chairman of the DLD and the chairman of DLD Israel.
Good afternoon. This is not a very good slot among the professional schmoozers. We call this slot the graveyard slot because people tend to fall asleep. And a few weeks ago, when I talked at that time, a guy fell asleep at the first row just in front of me, which was very humiliating. So I asked the guy who sat next to him, can you please wake him up? So he looked at me and said, you made him sleep, you wake him up. So if anybody is sleeping, please hit him. I would like to talk a little bit about the optimal condition for the implementation of educational technologies. And I'm addressing myself not to universities. You know, when you talk about educational technology, it's really a big ocean. Kindergartens, elementary school, high school, universities, informal studying, during the day, during the night. It's really very, very big thing. I limit my talk only to elementary schools and high schools. If you have a car and you would like to go to a trip, you have to do a few things in order to make sure the car will go. You will have to put air in the tires, gasoline in the tank, oil in the carter, water in the carburetor, in the radiator. I say the filter for the carburetor, so my son told me that you don't know that I'm not doing the carburetors already for 20 years. So you need the filters and you need a lot of things, and even if you don't put water in the tank of the windshield and there is dust or rain, you cannot see. So you have to take care of all these things. But however, when we come and talk about education, we don't talk usually about what should be the optimal conditions for the client, for the student to be able to study. And what I'm saying, I use it, the education technology as an excuse, but this is general. Like 2 weeks ago, I gave a seminar talk, and I made a poll, demographic poll, which I would like to repeat it. If anybody heard me, I apologize, but first of all, I would like to ask all the Bedouins in the room to raise, all the people which belong to the Bedouin sector to raise your hand. All the people in the audience who belong to the ultra-Orthodox sector, can you please raise your hand? Don't be shy. All the people which belong to the Ethiopian sector, can you please raise your hand? All the people that their son or daughter need glasses, but they didn't have money to buy him a glass, can you please raise your hand? All the people that their son or daughter during the last month went to sleep hungry because he didn't have access to food, please raise your hand. All the people which had at least one instance that their son or daughter had to steal food last month, can you raise your hand? All the people which their son or daughter has to look for food in the garbage during the last month? Raise your hand. Well, nobody raised the hand. I'm sure that this is because of being shy. And I'm sure that most of you didn't buy glasses to their kids because of lack of money, or am I wrong? Well, the point I'm trying to do is very obvious. The people which deal with technology, especially with education technology from the supply side, as other high-tech sectors, belong to a very specific demographic. But this demographic is not necessarily represent the whole market. The biggest invention of education technology, which was done, I don't know, 500 or 600 years ago, is this little device, which costs, if you buy it at AliExpress, $3. This is an optical device which empower a kid with vision limitation to see the blackboard. Anybody is familiar with this device? Raise your hand. At least I see that the people are not paralyzed, you know, that they can raise their hands to some question. Nevertheless, I read in the press, I cannot swear it's true, but at least it's indicative. I read in the press that 85%, let me go back. At the age of elementary school, 20%, or about 20% of the kids need glasses. Okay? I read in the press last month, I don't know if it's true or not, that in Israel, of the poor kids, kids which belong to poor families, only 15% out of the 20% have glasses. In one school, which I was involved through some circumstances, we checked the eyesight of the kids, and out of 800 kids, 150 kids missed glasses. Now you can create a wonderful ed tech with all the whistles and whatever you want, but if the kid doesn't have glasses, there is a chain of event. First of all, he loses his attention. He cannot read the board, so either he look at the copybook of his neighbor and the teacher tell him you are copying, or he loses attention and he begin to disturb the class, and he's being diagnosed as an ADD kid, and the solution for lack of glasses is giving these kids Ritalin. And it's not exactly the solution. Now, I selected the glasses because it's very obvious. You can see that kid who is hungry will not also study. He will be, first of all, focused how to satisfy his hunger. You can go this way, the whole Maslow ladder. Anybody is familiar with the Maslow ladder? Okay, we have here some sophisticated guys. Those who are not familiar with the Maslow ladder, please go to the source of all wisdom, Wikipedia, and read about it. But I think you know it. The top of the Maslow ladder is self-realization, which gives the human being a feeling that he was something, self-esteem, and we know, all of us know, that a kid with self-esteem is performing much better in scholastic achievements, etc., in his studies, in his grade, etc. So if you want to create a system where students will be able to use EdTech, you first of all have to develop their self-esteem. And in order to develop their self-esteem, you should go and analyze the situation of each kid. What is the topic that is interested? And try to enhance his ability, that you have to avail to him resources to develop his self-esteem. We see it very effective in Israel in anything which has to do with computers or robots or this sort of thing. Robots and computers are now really available in in extent which is, we can be proud, really proud of it. But so you avail to the kids the robot competition first, or computers, and you're immediately able to identify and to pull all the kids who are interested in it, which may be 20 or 25 or 30% of the kids. But there are kids which can do excellent accomplishment in art, in music, in growing turtles, in climbing on trees, and in cooking or whatever. Why don't we go and develop the self-esteem of these kids? I don't want to take too much of your time. I guess that you got the idea. I would like to tell you, all the people which are dealing here with EdTech, I will teach you how to improve the performance of your technology at least by 10% in a very easy way. You should go and do to all your students what we call multi-dimensional mapping of the kid. In some, I'm involved with a certain NGO which employ this method, and it gets really very impressive results. We start the year by analyzing each kid according 77 parameters, starting with his scholastic achievement, with ability to study, with what he lacks in ability to study, going through his emotional issues, going through his standing in the class, a kid which is being kind of pushed aside by his friends in the class will have effect on his studying, whether he has tickets to the bus, because a kid which doesn't have ticket to the bus on a rainy day, if his father cannot take him to the school by car, he will stay at home and he will miss studying. Going through whether he has sandwich or not, and finishing with what are the topics that he can excel. We need to find one area where he can excel. If you will require that this mapping will be done wherever you are employing your EdTech, you will see that you get immediately results, because it's changed the narrative of the school. The teachers begin to see the kid not only from the accomplishment, but also from what does it take in order to fine-tune the kid, that he will have the peace of mind and the readiness to study. For whatever reason, we are ignoring all these things, and we are ignoring it because it's a very tedious work, and it works only if you do it in a very granular way. You have a school with 700 kids, you take 77 parameters, you multiply it by 700 kids, and then you have to follow it. It has a lot of work, but if you do it, you get wonderful results. Now, all the people which didn't vote at the beginning of my talk when I made the polls, your kids are very fortunate. 1 minute, please. Okay. Your kids are very fortunate because you are able to give them all these things. Some kids which come from other socioeconomic background, they have parents which are investing a lot in education of the kids, and these kids are a blessing. But many people under the poverty line are fighting for survival. They are fighting for survival. They don't have the time to do it, or they don't have the attention, and this is the responsibility of the society. And you have a very special egotistic interest. If you want your work, your systems, your products to succeed, pay attention that there will be air in the tires, gasoline in the tank, oil in the carter, and water in the carburetors of the kids which are using your systems. Thank you.